misnomer that thinks that you have to go to faraway places to be a missionary. You can be a missionary right here in Salina, Kansas. There are as many lost people here as there are in any other community of the world, but every once in a while, God puts his thumb in your back and says, you know, I have a place I need you to go, and a task I need you to perform, and a ministry you need to do, and I want to know if you're willing. And a few years ago, Melissa Harvey said, Uncle, okay, God, I'll do what you want me to do. And she's going to come and share with us where God's been leading, what God's been doing, and the ministry she has enjoyed serving in Japan. So Melissa, come and minister to us this morning.
Ohayou gozaimasu. This is how you say it, good morning, in Japanese. That's one of the few words that I do. This morning, I was greeted at the door with a hayaku. I was told, go fast. But I think I'm going to go with a chatomate, which is just wait. That is actually one of the words that the Lord's been working on with me this year. Every year I feel like he kind of gives me a word or a phrase or something that I need to really be focused on, and this year it was that word that nobody likes to pray for, patience. And it was more in the form of the just wait. This is not your timing, this is my timing. This is not your plan, this is my plan. Those type of things. Every time I wanted to go this way, he says, no, wait, I need you to do this first. Some of the things that he's done that with is my first year in Japan, I was able to go on a missions trip with some teenagers to Manila, where we were able to minister, and I saw great things happen in Manila, but I also saw great things happen in the 5 teenagers that I took. And so I was really ready to do that again this year. And God said, wait, we're not ready to do it again. And I was like, okay. And so then in all of my gumption, I was like, okay, let me put something together for those teens to do here locally. And so I got together with some of my churches, and I got some plans together and all of that, and then God said, just wait. So that didn't happen either. And then the giant earthquake that happened in Kumamoto, and I was like, oh yeah, and someone came to me and they said, we have a place in our car, you want to go? And I was like, yes, I can. And God said, just wait. So I didn't get to go do that either. And then this year I had really thought that this was going to be my last year in Japan, and I was going to move on to South America or Indonesia or Malaysia or another really fun, exciting place to go. And God said, just wait. Stay in Japan. I was like, oh, you're really getting me, man. But then it overflowed into things back home. Allie calls me in the fall, and she was like, Mom, this is really hard. I need you to come home. And God said, just wait. And then my mom calls, and she says, Melissa, the finances are really tight. We need you to come home and maybe work for a year or two and go back. And God said, just wait. He just kept saying it over and over. And as you all know, we've been praying for my son, Mason. And again, just wait. It's like, okay, I will. And so one of the things that helps me with my just waiting, and something that's taken me a long time to get to a place where I can do this on a regular basis and say that I do it on a regular basis, before my feet hit the ground in the morning, my feet hit God. I roll over and I'm on my phone and I'm reading my Bible scriptures, and I flip on my computer, and I love Right Now Media. If you haven't connected with it, you need to. It's devotions, and you don't have to have the book, you just watch the videos like you would watch TV, and God speaks to you through wonderful preachers and pastors and other people that are just blessed by what God is doing in their lives, and it's amazing. A life verse that he has given me this year is in 2 Timothy. It is chapter 1, 6 through 8. And it says, for this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God, which is through the laying on of my hands. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. So do not be ashamed of the testimony about our Lord. And so I take that this year with the just wait, but don't be timid, be bold in everything you do. A few years back, some of you may have remembered this, I think you might have been in my small group, when I was asked to practice giving a testimony or practice telling other people about God, and I just sat there and cried. I was like, that's so hard. How could anybody do that? And now look what he's done to me. It's just amazing when you just wait. There is a song, some of you may be familiar with. It's called Diamonds by a group called Hawk Nelson, a really good Christian song. It's a song that I've taught to my students over in Japan this year. And they are very science geeky over there, and so they really understand the concept of how a diamond is made, and that it takes a long time for these diamonds to get made, and it takes a lot of pushing and pressure and heat, and all of those things that none of us like, but then what comes out of it is a beautiful, shiny diamond. Some of the lines in the song say that he's making diamonds out of dust. We started with nothing, and then we became this beautiful thing. He holds us under pressure and fire so he can turn our ashes, all of that yuck of our past, into a treasure. He refines us in his timing, not ours. What he turns us into is not what we would hope for. It's so much better, more than we could ever ask or imagine. Like I said, where I'm placed right now is in Japan. It's in the city of Nagoya. Even more specifically, I'm in a little tiny suburb called Nagakute, and it took me a whole year to learn to say that, so you're welcome. I am so glad that I've said yes to God, and I just want to remind you one more time something I told you last year, and I tell people all the time. I'm just an ordinary person, just like all of you. And all it takes is to say yes. I was a flawed past, and he's turning it into a bright and shiny diamond future, and I love it. One of my favorite things that I'm doing over there is being a missionary. Yes, I work for a corporation, an international Christian school corporation, but the teacher in me was the tool God used to place me where I'm at. So I think of myself as a missionary first, and a teacher second. So yes, I'm teaching reading and social studies and those things to my children, but I also get the blessing of being able to talk about God every single day. Some of the blessings that he's given me this year, because I said yes to living life through him, for him, and by him, because of what he did in me, I'm just going to share several of those. Earlier this summer, I met with Daryl Riffle. I'm sure some of you know who that is. Met with him. He's been a great mentor to me over these years. And he said, if you don't have fresh stories to tell people, God's probably not fresh in your life. And so I'm really glad that God is constantly giving me fresh stories, because that's how I know he's on fire inside of me. So I'm just kind of walk you through my year, some of the blessings that he's given me. And things that I can say are only from God. They're not anything I have done. I have family down in southeast Kansas, and came to find out that a cousin of a husband of a someone, blah, 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 had moved to Japan, and she was like, my cousin said, can you connect with her? She's having a rough time. And I was like, well, Japan's a big country. Where is she? Turns out she was an hour-and-a-half train ride away from me. I'd never been there, got on the train, it was a piece of cake to get to her. I met with this girl, and she just melted. She had a young gal, her name is Nicole. She pretty much had never left southeast Kansas. I think Branson and Springfield and Joplin had been like her biggest trips ever, but yet she decided to move to Japan to work with one of the English tutoring programs. And when she got over there, she realized, whoa, this is a big world and it's scary, and there's a lot of things I'm not ready for, and things like that. And so I was able to minister with her, and I went, the first day I met her, my plan was, I'm gonna show her how to do Japan, and she's gonna be just fine. Well, through the day, she just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried, and she was so homesick, she had never even unpacked her bag. She'd been there for a month. And I was like, how do you want me to do this, God? Because, I know when you bite something off, you just got to stick with it a little bit and it'll be fine. And so I told her, just wait. And so as I was getting ready to leave that day from her and the doors of the train are closing, she just starts sobbing and she says, I can't do it anymore, I want to die. And I'm like, huh, as the doors close and my train takes off. So I got home and I'm talking with her. I decided to go back the next day. So that was a Saturday, this is a Sunday. I go back the next day with her with the same thing. I'm like, okay, maybe she just needs to take a day or two and come to my apartment and I'll show her how to do Japan well, in the comfort of someplace that's established. And so I went, and as soon as I hugged her, I was like, no, that's not what she needs. She needs someone to tell her it's okay to go home. And so that's what I told her, and you could just see the weight come off of this child. Her face lit up. She was ecstatic. I sat with her and we called her boss, we called my boss, because I was gonna have to take a day off. It's the beginning of school, you don't take days off. I called him and I was like, hey, something's come up and I can't be there tomorrow. And he's like, that's fine, take all the time you need. That was a message to her, where she was like, whoa, you have people in your life that just do that? So, long story short, she came back with me, we got her on a plane, she came home. I met with her this summer. She's doing wonderful. So she's one of my ministry opportunities that God places in front of me. I'm still working with her. She's had a rough past. She doesn't believe in God anymore. She knows there is a God, but she doesn't, have that relationship with him. And so I've really been working with her on that. So I love her. So keep Nicole in your prayers. Another thing God has blessed me with, and I know it's from God, because 5 or 6 years ago, I wasn't really a good cook. And now I've kind of really found this joy and this passion for cooking, and it's overflowed into, I've had some cooking clubs at my house with the students. 1 week I do girls and 1 week I do boys, and they're all that preteen age, and they come over to my house, which is kind of cool. As a teacher at public school, you don't invite children to your house, but we get to invite them to our house, and we have cooking clubs. And we cook the food, but we also put a Bible story with it, and I connect the Bible story to the foods that we're cooking. One of my favorite was, we did Sloppy Joe's. So of course we did Jonah and the whale, because he's a sloppy guy. And so we connected the physical sloppiness that he endured, but we also connected the spiritual sloppiness of how he said no to God, and how he ran away and he hid and he caused all that chaos, and the storm came and all of that. But then the wonderful thing that turned out of it, was this Sloppy Joe, and we get to eat it, and it's delicious. Okay. So we connect all of those and we have a lot of fun with it. But the one thing that I know God is in the working, one of my students is from the United Arab Emirates. His family is Muslim, very, very Muslim. One thing is, they're at our school, which is kind of cool, because it's definitely a Christian school, and he gets Jesus every day. But his parents agreed to let him come to my house, a single white Christian woman, not a Muslim, and he got to come to my house to enjoy Bible study and fellowship with us. It was so amazing. This kid had a blast. I've also talked to this young man about, he has 2 older sisters at our school, about what goes on when he goes home. Does he talk about school like everybody else, and does he tell them about math and science and reading, and then his Bible class? And he goes, yeah, we do everything but the Bible class. We tried that once. And so they don't have the conversations at home about Jesus, but he and his sisters get to walk home every day, and they have conversations about Jesus every day when they walk home. How cool is that? So seeds are being planted. So that little guy's name is Abrar. Please pray for him. One of the other things I get to do is I get opportunities in my community to meet one-on-one with new believers or people that are questioning and want to become believers but aren't quite ready to do that. There's some ladies that I've met through my church. One of them, her name is Nika. She once was a Jehovah's Witness, and she's talked to me about all of the things that have gone through all of that, all of her transformation, and when she grabbed hold of Christianity, she grabbed hold of it. She is on fire with it, and so she and I have gotten together a lot. She's talked to me about how to minister to the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I've talked to her about how to become a better Christian and those type of things. So that's really awesome. And then there's this little old man, his name is Shoji, And when I say little old man, he introduces himself as, hello, my name is Shoji, and I was in World War I, but I did not fight. I played basketball with the army. And we were like, okay. And that's how he introduces himself. Well, he had visited a language exchange that I'm a part of, and we didn't socialize too much, but a friend of mine and I were at a restaurant eating, and he walked past and he goes, hey, you were at that language exchange. And I said, yes, I was. So we started visiting. Turns out he's a retired history teacher, and then he used to come over to America and train our history teachers of how to do it the Japanese way. I thought that was kind of cool. And so we talked for a little while, and my friend that I was with, who was a new believer, she actually invited him to church. She goes, well, that place where we have language exchange is also a church. You should come on Sunday. And he goes, I'm not a Christian. And she's like, that's okay. You should come. And this is a very shy, timid Japanese gal that I'm with, but she invited him. Sure enough, he shows up the next Sunday. So now he's coming to the language exchange on Thursdays, and he's coming to the Sunday church. And so all of this time, still when he introduces himself, hello, my name is Shoji, and I was in World War I. Well, when Mom came over, this is 6 months later, Mom comes over, and I said, Mom, you've got to come meet this guy, Shoji, that we've really been working on trying to get him on fire for Jesus. Well, he very adamantly introduced himself with, hello, my name is Shoji, I am not a Christian, as we're standing there in this Christian church. And so I think Mom said something to him along the lines of, wow, you're missing out. And so then we just kind of talked back and forth, but he had been doing his research. He had a whole file on me and my school and some of the people that I work with and different things like that. And he's like, there's some good things happening there, and you just keep telling me that you're not worried about your salary and that God's going to take care of you. And he's like, you really believe that, don't you? I was like, yes, I do. So pray for Shoji, because he's right on the edge. Like I said, the language exchange that I go to, I quit trying to learn. I really did. I'm actually learning more now that I quit trying to learn because it was just too stressful. And that's not what God put me there for. He didn't put me there to learn the language. He put me there to learn the people. So that's what I'm focusing on. So when I go to language exchange, they introduce themselves. They usually give you a topic. The questions are kind of leading, so you can either take it into a secular direction or you can take it into a biblical direction. For example, like the question might be, what is your favorite time of the day? You could easily say, after work, but you could also say, my Bible study time with Jesus. So it's kind of nice. Or you could say, what helps you relax when you're really anxious? Easy to fill in the blank there, right? So I love going there because when we break into small groups and we have these questions, every week it's different people, but sometimes it's the same people. And then you get to just kind of really get to know people. Some people come to this language exchange and it's a therapy session for them, and they will just pour out their whole heart and soul when you ask them a question. And other people are really tight and reserved and always tell you that their favorite parts of the day are after work when they can go to the bar and those type of things. So you just use that and you get together and you know the people. I've made a lot of really good friends through this language exchange. So taking it back to my school, one of my favorite things that I get to teach is every Friday we have chapel with our students, our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And this year we focused on every week was a different character trait, a biblical character trait. And because God's been working on the just wait, have patience, that was what I did one Friday with my chapel kids. We did patience. And I don't know how many of you remember the old musical with, I think it was the Music Man and Herbie the Snail, and he goes, have patience, don't be in such a hurry. So I taught my children this song. Lots of little Japanese children and French children and German children and Muslim children walking around singing this song because it sticks in your head. And so when Miss Harvey is standing at the door going, put your shoes on, we're going to be late. Have patience. They sing it back to me, right? And so it's a reminder to me that God's still working. But then we also turn it around and use it on them too. So it's really good. I love it. Mom, like I said, was able to come over the month of May. She actually got to come for a whole month. It was really cool. She got out the middle of May from school, and I got out the middle of June, so she really got to come over and experience my world. And so I challenged her. I said, why don't you lead a chapel? It's kind of fun. And she, of course, was like, ugh, I don't know. But she did. We gave her the topic of harmony, and she rocked it. She did a really great rendition of if you were a clanging gong versus a resounding cymbal and all of that, and what is harmonious to God in his ears. And she really taught the kids. She did a little, how did you do that? I love God, forgive me. Or I am sorry, that's what it was. I am sorry, forgive me, versus banging on the drum. I am sorry, forgive me. And the kids really got it. So then, of course, later that day at recess, when there was a little tiff going on, we were like, are you a resounding gong, or are you this little harmonious thing in God's ear? And so they were able to work it out. It was really cool to see. So that's another way God's blessing us over there. I have had the privilege, our office assistant, she goes to a completely another church that's completely Japanese, so I can't communicate when I go over there, but she has invited me to come with her on Saturdays, and once a month we go and we cook for her youth group. And we cook this mass amount of food. And it's a lot of fun to see the kids come in and see all the food, and I get to hear them worship in Japanese, and they come over and they try to practice their English on me and things like that. But that's been a real blessing to me that she's let me be a part of that, because that then takes me into another part of the community. To get with the parents at our school, we try to incorporate different things in presentations and things like that, because a lot of our parents are not believers. They send their children to our school simply so they can learn American. They don't call it English, they call it American. And they want to learn the way that we do things so their kids will be good when they go off into the business world and things like that. And so, like, I had a little poetry reading presentation. The kids wrote poems, and we used some scriptures, and we talked about the Psalms and different things like that. So when all of the parents, we ended up with 75 people in my teeny tiny classroom of 12. So it was packed, but it was awesome because the parents came and they got to hear that, and of course we read Bible scripture to them, and we prayed over the kids, and we did those kind of things. So they got to see that, and they know we love their kids. I think that's another reason why they send them there. They don't come right out and say it, but they know their kids are loved, and there's something different about our school versus the other schools. Let's see, some of the other things that he's been working on in me is trying to make sure that I have fresh testimony to tell people, so that's what I've been working on here. Trying to stay positive in dark circumstances. That's something I've always had a hard time with. I get pretty grumpy pretty easy, and he's really been working on me this year to just kind of stay positive, be the cheerleader, keep it going, keep it going. In fact, this week at camp is a real good example of how you get grumpy real quick when you get hot and tired and you got crazy kids all around you and stuff. And this week, he did a good job of keeping me pretty positive, I think. So that was really good. That's the way God's been working in me. There is a song, I see my video has finally made it up there. Yay! Can you guys play the link? I think it's on the third slide.
It didn't work.
It didn't work, okay. So there's another song by Hawk Nelson. It's called Live Like You're Loved. I don't know, have you heard it? You heard it? Okay. It's a really, really good song. And one of the things they say in there is this God that we believe in has changed everything. So just take a moment right now and think how he has changed everything for you. If your brain went blank, there's a problem. If your brain started flooding with things, that's awesome. You're in the right place. Okay. So, blessings. They're awesome. Some of the ways that you can be a blessing to me, people often ask me, how can I pray for you? So I'll give you a couple of ways that you can pray for me and be a blessing. I would love for you to just pray for me, that I continue to be bold and courageous and outgoing for Christ. I also ask you that you pray for our students at our school. They need Jesus just as much as anybody else. I ask that you will help pray for more one-on-one opportunities with people in the community so that I can get with them and minister. I am hoping that I will be able to start a ladies' Bible study with new believers and wannabe believers this year, and bless John for giving me the opportunity to work with his Wednesday night Bible study this summer and kind of practice. So when I go over, okay, I think I can do this. I also would ask that you send me some encouragement every now and then. One of my favorite things is Dolores back here, every once in a while she'll pass a card around a Sunday school class and everybody signs it, or around Sunday night church or something and everybody signs it. That's great. And sometimes Mom will go around and take your picture and you'll send me a message, via text or something, and that's great. But I'd love to hear from you, like specifically. So on the last slide is some contact information, different ways you can get a hold of me. There's 2 different emails. The only social media I do is Instagram, but there's my address. Send me a card, send me a picture. I would love that. Another thing, I've got Dolores and Shannon over here. They're awesome about sending me Kansas pictures. When you live in mountains and islands and heat and you don't have thunderstorms or any of that stuff, you realize you start missing it. So it's really kind of cool this summer that I've been home. I've been taking a lot of horizon pictures and things like that where you can just see for miles. It's really kind of fun. Email me a picture. I would love it. I share them with my children because they don't know what that is like either. So that would be a blessing to me. You can think about me as I look forward to cooking clubs that I'll be doing this coming year, the new Bible study, how God's going to use me over there this year. I have no idea. People have asked me how long I'm going to stay in Japan. Till God says I'm done waiting, I guess. I will be lead teacher this year, so that's going to be a whole new thing for me. And of course, last week we got news where we lost 2 teachers 10 days before school starts. So that's my first task, is figuring out how to make that work. So pray for me as I'm in this new role. I've got 2 other people on my team with me, but that's going to be a tough one for me. I would also really appreciate if you would consider financially supporting me besides just prayer. You all are awesome. When I sold enchiladas 2 weeks ago, I had a number in my head and I was like, it'd be really nice if I could make that number, because that would pay for Allie's first semester at MNU this year. I mean, she gets financial aid, but there's always that leftover chunk that I have to pay. And God is so good, I got exactly that number.
Amen.
Amen.
And so I'm just gonna throw it out there. That payment comes around again in January. So that number's still here. So it'd be really awesome if God took care of that for me. Another thing I would love for you to pray for is at MNU, they have this thing where if you're a Nazarene missions kid, you pretty much get a full ride. Well, I'm not a Nazarene missionary, but I am a missionary and I have a certificate that says so. And so they had told me up there that after 2 years of service, maybe, well, I just finished 2 years, so that's in the works up there right now. They're trying to see what they can do to make that work, and maybe I won't even need that January payment. Wouldn't that be awesome? So throw that on your list of prayers, please. And then that brings me into that song that they sang during the offering, the If We're Honest song by Francesca. Love that song. Especially where she starts it out and she says, I'm a mess, but so are you, so it's okay. And then the best thing we can do is bring our brokenness. Well, as you all know, since Mason turned 18, 5 years ago, I don't know why I looked at my watch for that, but 5 years ago, he's pretty much decided he's not my kid. And it's broken my heart. And God has been working on me of how to deal with that. And 2 years ago, I got to a place where I was at peace with that. I turned it over to God. God is in control of it. God's going to restore that. I know that. But he's also told me to just wait. So keep Mason in your heart, in your mind. So when I hear that song, I think of that. And you know what happened this week? I have a date with my son tomorrow night. Woohoo! I was at camp and little Miss Caitlin comes running across the campus. Melissa, 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 you need to call your mother now. Why? Did someone die? No, your son said yes. How cool is that? So if you wouldn't mind, set your little phone alarms to 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, because that's when we're gonna meet with him. And Mom and I have already been talking about this. We're not gonna use words tomorrow night. We're gonna use actions. He's gonna know he's loved and he's cared for. And no matter any nastiness he wants to throw our way, it's gonna be bounced off with love. So remember that one for us, please. That really brings me to the end of what I've got. Blessings and blessings, and he's gonna bless tomorrow too. So thank you very much for all you do.
One of the ways that we can respond, and you see John and Shirley, so worship team, that's a cue. We need you to come back, worship team, if you could do that for us real quick this evening, or this morning. One of the ways that we can really reach out and touch Melissa right now is financially, and we have this incredible habit of being a blessing when missionaries come, of receiving a love offering for them, and we want to do that this morning. I want to give you a little instruction, though, on the love offering. Because of the way the finances are set for Melissa, if you give money directly to the church, we are not able, there's just this hiccup now with the IRS, we are not able, because she is not a Nazarene missionary, to provide contribution credit for you for that. The other little hiccup is if she receives more than $500 from the church, she has to pay taxes on it. So we're going to ask you, if you want to give an offering for Melissa today, write the checks directly to her. She gets 100% of it. It all goes to her. She doesn't have to worry about the IRS. And it just works for us, unless she gets $15,000 this morning. If she gets that, it's beyond gift income and she has to report it. But we just want to encourage you to give. She can give you information on how you can give through her organization, the ministry she's a part of, and they can get you tax credit for that. But that's for ongoing giving. And we would just encourage you to put that in your prayers, that above your regular tithes and offerings, if you want to support her, that you would feel welcome to do that. Our ushers are going to come. We're going to receive checks and cash and whatever you want to give to bless Melissa and her ministry. Remember, you can make checks out to Melissa Harvey, and that just works best in terms of the accounting. Now, she said in the midst of the service here at the end that she had this favorite song. And I just texted John a few minutes ago. John normally during our service is out monitoring our internet feed. We're live on the internet everywhere every Sunday morning, and we have to have someone watch that and make sure everything's working. And so he sneaks into his office and he worships in his office. The fun part is normally he's about 40 seconds behind because that's the lapse. So I had to text him in church. I don't normally text in church.
I think that's the first time I've done one.
That is the first time you've gotten one, because I didn't have a 40-second lapse. I needed him now. So they're going to come, and Melissa, just for you, we're going to sing this. And while they're singing, I want to ask you to do something. I want you to come down to the altar here, and we're going to surround you and just have a prayer for you at the end of the service, just to ask God's blessings. If you want to come and lay hands on and just pray with Melissa, let me invite you to come as they sing this morning.
We're going to sing If We're Honest.